Hello everyone, welcome back to Every Degree Matters. I'm your host Saffran Minhar. Today we're going to talk about a lot of exciting things that has happened in the last week. We're going to talk about President Trump had a massive meeting with five leaders from the Central Asian countries. We are also back with the great news. I mean, you all might have known by now that the government is officially open by Thursday, which is amazing. Also, we're gonna talk about the Epstein files, the new leaks that has been coming out with the Epstein files, and we're also going to talk about the COP30 that's happening in Brazil this week and what it is important. Does it really make any sense? Is it important for us? And then the exciting news about the TSA workers. I just saw that the DHS is going to pay $10,000, $10,000 as a bonus for people who worked even though they didn't get paid. I don't know what it is, but let's look into that in detail. It's a little bit tricky. And also, we saw a big uh, news coming out of the International Olympic Committee that they are considering that they might ban the transgender athletics for the Olympics that's going to happen in 2028. With that, let's get to the show. And you wanna write it down? Would it kill you just to listen? And you wanna sell it out with the words out of your position. Hold on. And you wanna see the break of dawn. Brush your hair back from your face. You won't see me when Thank you, everyone. I hope you guys had a nice weekend, and a nice week. Let's dive in for today's topic. So first, I would like to talk about the government opening. So this was great. Wednesday, the Senate went with the Tuesday. I think Senate got the votes, the 60 votes that they need to open the government. So they opened it for the procedural vote, and they convinced 8 Democrats to vote for them. So in meaning that the healthcare that they were fighting, so they agreed to have a different vote before, I think, January 31st is where that will expire, the current Obamacare. So they agreed to have a vote before that and a different separate bill. So that's why 8 people agreed, and they finally opened it. So the government finally opened. This is the longest shutdown ever in the US history. And finally, I'm happy to say that a lot of people are going to get food, the SNAP programs, the veterans, everybody's going to get paid. I hope all those monies have been gone. Well, yesterday, so then how it works is that once the Senate gets vote approved, it goes back to the House, and then the House votes, and then I think the House voted yesterday. So then it finally becomes a law. The whole the plan for the funding bill was the same funding bill that Biden had it. So that nothing's changed, nothing new. It's the same bill that you know the Schumers of the world didn't want it to pass because of um, that for healthcare issue that they didn't want it. They wanted to extend it further before after January 31st. So and also there was a huge impact on FAA. Thank God it was open. The Thanksgiving weekend is coming up. A lot of people are trying to fly in. You, me, a lot of people are going to go have vacation. Just imagine if there's no TSA people and there's no air traffic controller to land the plane and take off the plane, which would be crazy bananas. So finally, I'm happy. Especially all these people are going to get paid, and especially also what do you call the people who need SNAP programs, like supplementary nutrition assistant program. What does that mean? It's just that SNAP means supplementary supplemental nutrition assistant program. That's a short form. They call it SNAP. And they also, they reduced 10%. In major airports, there was no air traffic controllers working. So they reduced the flights. I met a lot of people saying that they had to sit in the plane for 90 minutes, an hour, which is bananas. So with that, I mean, and also the another impact was happening is that with the stock market, everybody, there's big, since the COVID, like the whole narrative was, people were shocked, like how long it's going to go, whether it's government going to open. I mean, that all, when the shutdown happens, they don't even pay the interest, right? I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the interest is not going to also be will not be paid for the people that bought the bonds. That's also part of the shutdown. The government needs funding because, as you all know, the United States government pays $1 trillion in interest for $37 trillion debt. Yeah, you guys can think about it. So we pay almost 1 trillion, which is bananas. And with that, the next topic I want to talk about, this is a key topic, guys. So President Trump did a great job in meeting with the 4 Central Asian countries: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. So these leaders came to the White House last week, and they signed both very mineral agreements with the United States, and they also wanted to normalize the relationship with Israel. I think one of those countries also signed the Abraham Accord. So which is, let me see which country. I think it must be one country that signed, let me see, new country to join the Abraham Accord. So yeah, Kazakhstan signed the Abraham Accord and joining it's going to be the first country in the Central Asia part joining in. That was the President Trump's first years where he initiated this Abraham Accord to normalize the relationship with Israel, the neighboring countries. So Egypt, Jordan, they are some of those countries that are part of the Abraham Accord. So that was a great news that they signed. They also, the whole 5 countries signed a rare earth mineral and deepen. They also wanted to deepen the diplomatic ties between the US and those countries. And remember, guys, these countries are former USSR, so that's going to be a lot of politics being played, because right now Russia is fighting a war with Ukraine, and we are funding the war in Ukraine, supporting them to fight Russia. At the same time, you can see the former USSR countries joining alliance. I mean, not alliance, but having some sort of a financial deal that's going to benefit US and they are themselves as well. So they are seeing a long-term growth. This is what I like about President Trump. Sometimes he makes some good. I mean, he's a deal maker, right? So if you all know, because of that reason, he brings all these people that are impossible to sit down and have a meeting and agree on a lot of things. And he's also leveraging the United States, and leverage is also a key thing in life. Sometimes as long as it can be leveraged, people call it, you can also be bluffed. If you play poker, you know what it means. So you got to be very careful when you do that. I mean, so far President Trump has been really successful in getting a lot of deals done. So hopefully he can continue this, because right now, if you guys can see, there's big scandals that's going on, which is what the next topic that I'm going to talk about is the Epstein scandal. So the Democrats oversight, the House Oversight Committee, that consists of Republicans and Democrat House members, they released a lot of Jeffrey Epstein's email logs yesterday, or I think on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check here. Yeah, so they released a lot of documents that are related to flight logs, new documents with flight logs, emails, memos. With the Jeffrey Epstein, as you all know, is what do you call this? A sex traffic offender, which he served in jail. Anyways, he's dead and gone in 2019. But those victims now, the emails have been going out, and President Trump's name is there, and like everybody's like, "What's going on?" Relax, guys. I mean, I'm pretty 100% sure President Trump would have not been not involved in any of these things, but he might have contacts with, according to the email, it seems like he still had connections with Epstein after the indictment, after the conviction that he had in 2008. So this big scandal has broken out, and then the mega is split now, I think, with the conservatives and the anti-establishment. Because you all have to understand that when President Trump ran, and a lot of the top administration members in the Trump administration were saying that we're going to release the list, we're going to release the list. Like, why make a promise if you can't release it? Like, just don't make empty promises, because that's going to really be impacted. I mean, midterms are coming. I mean, usually I mean, it's fingers crossed, knock on the wood. We don't know what's going to happen. But if they can win the midterms, the Republicans, that will be a huge victory. For another 2 years, President Trump can do whatever he wants. That's amazing, right? So, which will be great. But unfortunately, with this whole scandal, I think they should just release everything. I mean, maybe President Trump is using it as a leverage to get a lot of things done within the government, or in his presidency, or there might be big donors from both sides that don't want to get exposed. So this is going to be a huge moment, because you all have to understand that the big anti-establishment that Charlie Rand and Tucker and all those people brought in to support President Trump's election, if they all move into the Democratic side, which will be a huge loss. And you got to understand, there's a growing population of young people in America, and there's a growing population of registered young people as voters. So this could be a turning point in the U.S. History, especially for the Republicans and the mega movement. So make America great again. So that's the whole slogan, right, that this stands for. So we're gonna see. So now next on the November 12th and 13th, the House voted, which is 2 days they voted to release to make a lot of things public. And next week or the week after, they will have another vote. I mean, Speaker Johnson has promised to bring another vote to, if the House can pass it, to release the entire list of the Epstein files, and then it will go to the Senate. I don't think it's going to get approved in the Senate, but at least the House could do something. But the Senate is going to block it, so it's just going to go on circles and circles. But this is the tricky part, though. I wrote today on X. President Trump is right now one of the greatest presidents in our modern times. Right now, with all the things that he has achieved, all the things that he has done, bringing peace, signing 7 peace deals, bringing stability to the world. That's what I really like about him. There's no war started, or he didn't at least go to war with Iran. So a lot of positive things have happened, right? So because of this Epstein scandal and this whole craziness that's going around, you can also go. This is what life is, right? You can be the greatest person or greatest president ever, and at the same time falling back, and it could also reverse, and he might also end up in the becoming the one of the worst presidents of the modern times after Biden. So you gotta be very careful. I don't want him to fail. I don't want the presidency to. I want it to be successful. I want it to be delivering people for the American people, right? And I get this part. People are like, "Oh, what's happening with the economy?" You guys have to understand everything that he has implemented, or bringing back all the companies back to America. It takes time. It doesn't go like skyrockets overnight, right? But at the same time, it is gradual, slow shift. It will really work. Hopefully it works. and you got to have patience. And that's what, let me, if I can recall and say, when Lee Kuan Yew, the Prime Minister of Singapore, said, give me 10 years or so for Singaporeans to make Singapore a great country. Remember, guys, Singapore doesn't have any natural resources, right? They are one of the greatest economy in Asian countries. Why? Because they provide services. That's the reason they provide big shipment services. And the financial sector. It's all because of this one man said, give me time. At the same time, I think President Trump is trying to do that, and everybody wants to, make a problem out of it, saying, oh yeah, the cost of living, it will go up, and that's how it comes down for the time being. So it will go up and then it will come down when it's necessary, when the economy bounces back, and when the production starts to happen in the US, and everything comes back in the US, and we start collecting more tariffs. And I think President Trump is also thinking to give $2,000 for each citizen if this tariff goes and be successful. So I think don't need to panic, guys. Save up the money, as much as you can. At the same time, the housing market is collapsing. Not collapsing, it's going down. So you can also buy a house if you have money, but don't spend it in wasteful money that you don't need. If you don't need any big, if you don't have to buy any big purchases, then please don't buy it. So that's the key thing, and you got to understand. So if you don't want to have any big purchases, don't do it unless you don't need it. So with that, guys, let's move on to the next topic, which is I think I would say an eye-opening topic. Is that not eye-opening? So the International Olympic Committee is thinking to change their policy to ban transgender athletics to be playing in the Olympics. So they're reviewing it, and if this goes through, it's going to be a great victory. All due respect, you can be whoever you want, but you can't come and say that a man has a man has a same physical body and biological strength as a woman. So man is always more powerful, more strengthening. Like biologically, you can't say that a female can beat a man. So that's just ridiculous. And this whole transgender men competing in women's sports, I don't know, guys. You guys imagine what's going to happen in 100 years, and people think about us and look at it. What are these buffoons doing? Don't know. There's only two genders, one male and female. Period. Right? And especially in sports, you can't. Either you have to have a gender neutral sports, or have a transgender separate category, which I'm all for. But don't let vice versa people play in other sports just because they identify themselves or they went through the whole process. The physics is the physical, biological, ability for a man is the same. Even though they change their gender and become a woman cannot beat a transgender man. Let's put it that way. So that's what I think, and that's what they're planning to. And remember, the Olympic is happening in 2028 in Los Angeles in the US, which is going to be amazing. So I think also, since President Trump is going to be the president, so they might also wanted to make sure this, as we have banned everything here in America. There's only two genders. I think President Trump signed a proclamation or executive order making sure that there's only two genders that we recognize. So that's the part with this. And then also you guys need to understand there's a big fluid going on with Tucker and Ben Shapiro and Nick Fuentes. I don't know, guys. This is crazy. I was just listening to Tucker ranting. Talking about Mark Levin and all the other people. So it's an interesting time to live, and I think you all have to understand. We all have to put America first. That's what I like about. I'm an immigrant here, and I like about that because America is the greatest country in the world, and I love capitalism. Capitalism is the best source of policy. Capitalism is the best idea that will work and that has proven to work, the free market. And also, like, sometimes I feel like it could also have gone a little bit more towards too much. I think maybe we can tone a little bit down and make sure people are living a healthy life, or people are living a sustainable life. That means they're happy with what they're living with. So that's the other thing I think we need to focus on. Yes, you're right. This is the you come here, you make money. At the same time, make sure that, like, you have, for example, this is some things that you have to raise the minimum wage. If the cost of living is going up, you have to raise the minimum wage. That has to go in parallel, right? If the cost of living that's also part of capitalism, right? If cost of living goes up and if the minimum wage stays the same, how can you make sure people can buy and afford? It's a free market, free world, capitalism, awesome, has worked, but there are also some big flaws that we need to fix it, and we all can fix it if we come together. Just trying to be segregated and separated in 10 different ways. So that's what I would say, one key important thing. And then let's move on to the one more other thing that you have to say. I wanted to talk is that, okay, so the World Meteorological Department Organization, WMO, says that 2023 to 2025 are the hottest years and climate warning. Every year is a hot year. These guys, I don't know what are they saying, but they're saying many extreme sea level. I don't believe all this. Sea level doesn't raise because I did an experiment. Like, if the icebergs are inside that already submerged, you do a perfect example. Take a glass of water and put some ice. If the ice melts, does the water overflow? It doesn't. So like that, the same way, when the ice melts, with the ice that is submerged in the sea that melts, the sea level will not raise. Period. But the sea level will raise if the snow that is on the mountains melts and comes down to the water, comes down to the ocean, which is almost very rare because it converts into a river and goes through riverbeds and gets feeding with the people. So it's very rare that the snows that are on mountains will become a problem. I don't think so. And they also, like, it's just that I feel like when people say doomsday is coming, the doomsday is not coming in very near the near future. I think it's not. Last week I talked about how Bill Gates went far, said, oh, it's not like that's the reality, right? So just don't panic about it. And then with that, you guys, the EU always panics. The EU, sometimes I like about EU. Sometimes I just think that they also go too much on a lot of things. And the other thing that EU is planning to do is that they also wanted to make sure, bring that they're planning to have watered down its the other thing that EU is planning is that to raise their goals, and they make it really hard to achieve a lot of things. But I think I should give some credit to EU, especially in terms of banning a lot of food colorings and food products, and people are eating healthy in Europe, basically. Now, also in regards to EU, since we talked about EU, that the EU Commission are trying to soften AI regulations because of the US pressure. And I feel that's a good thing. AI should not be over-regulated. At the same time, we need regulations. We need safety regulations. Remember that. As Elon said, it could go either way. If you watch Elon's podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast that he did with Elon, you can see how that Elon talks about that. That's the reason he created Grok, because at least when competition, let's say Grok has all the safety measures, Grok has all those things, all the other chatbots and other AI like Gemini, ChatGPT 4 or 5, they all have to come closer to maintaining it. Perfect example that he gave was, look on the social media platforms, like when he bought Twitter, changed into X, and free speech was, he gave a lot of people space to open up their account back again. So then gradually, Facebook followed to YouTube, Instagram. They both are owned by Instagram and Facebook are owned by Mark Zuckerberg, so they're the same organization. So that's the other big news from Europe, that they are being pressured by the US to lower the AI regulations and safety. But I don't think they should lower a lot of regulations. I think some are key important regulations which really needs. It only takes one bad guy and then it's gone. It's so manipulative, and it's every day. I tell people every day, every second, AI is changing. That's just, you can't deny that. And just ChatGPT is growing, Grok is growing, Nvidia is growing. Every single day, it's just another day, and it's just keep on going and going and going and going and going. So where it takes really crazy self-destruction, it can also go wrong way. So we have to be protective of the people. End of the day, we have to cherish the world that we have. We only got one world. We don't want to be like figuring out, of course it's nice to go to Mars, of course it's expand humanity, of course expand human species and become multi-planetary species, but at the same time we need to make sure we keep our earth safe and livable. So I think these are the important things that we need to do. And also I hope the EU and the US also step up on regulations. People can get really crazy when they get hold of this AI technology. It can also go in good way, it can also go in bad way. So you guys have to be really careful with that. So with that, guys, let's move on to the COP summit, COP30, the Conference of the Parties 30th session is happening in Belém, Brazil. It's happening. It's already started from the 10th of November to the 21st. And I saw Gavin Newsom saying that nobody from Trump administration was there. I don't know if that is true for the COP climate talks, but there's nothing important that's going to happen this year. But it's more going to be like they're going to highlight fashion, fashion industry, indigenous land rights, and deforestation, because Brazil has a lot of indigenous land and indigenous community because of the rainforest. You all know the largest rainforest is in Brazil. And the COP summit, it's nice. They all come, they all get together. People, taking place, and they all say these fancy words, and they all make this a hype, and people get really scared. I mean, it's okay. It's just that I think that it's just, you don't fearmonger people. That's what I was one of them that they did, and I got to know about it later on because I read a lot of things, and I moved to America. I saw two different worlds, right? So that made me more thinking, okay, so maybe this is wrong. Maybe there's a different perspective to look at it, or maybe a different way to analyze a lot of things. So they just fearmonger a lot of things, and that's what I just trying to distance. I mean, I fear that it is important, but it is not important to the much as they fear people. And then fear controls a lot of. Fear can be very bad. But during her speech, she said that the COP President Costa, said that they are planning to reduce the carbon. The European Union is determined to contributing and trying to reduce the carbon emission from there. Right now it's 62%. They want to go up to 72% of reduction compared to the level in 1990. So anyways, this is COP happening, and forestry and ocean also a big topic. That's another thing I really care about, because that's the deforestation. plus the plastic waste. The ocean is one of the crazy important things, because ocean controls everything. If you guys know, the current, the food, the whole ecosystem is continued and equilibrium. There's so much plastic waste in oceans. We need to fix that. We are trying to fix the carbon emission. I think more important, I feel like the waste, we need to be fixed, especially with the clearing up the oceans, getting all the dirt out of the ocean. There are so many great projects that are coming up, which is amazing, where they can do the ocean cleanup, which is the key important thing. And then in COP30, the EU's position right now, it includes that EU thinks, what do you call, they want to strengthen global mitigation. They want to go progress on adaptation goals. They also want to have enhanced climate finance mobilization. And then EU is also pushing to energy transition. So that's the key thing. Energy transition really important, especially when you look at, again, go and see the podcast that Elon did it with Joe Rogan, that he talks about, if we can, end of the day, we need to be able to power the world, especially the US, especially with AI. There will be so much power needed, so we can't be just burning natural resources. Rather, we can use solar panel, we can use nuclear power technology to generate more electricity at a short period of time, because in the next 10 to 15 years we might need a lot of electricity, and I don't want to be burning coal. So we have the technology of creating solar panel. We have if China can do it, why can't the United States can do it? Why can't the EU can do it? It's not impossible. It's possible to do it. It just has to be the political will and the people to do it. And the other thing is about the climate financing. On the 10th of October, the Council also adopted, the European Union Council adopted international climate finance adoption. But let me read this. The Council also adopted conclusion on international climate financing. The conclusion reaffirmed that EU and its member state committed to the international. So it also comes. So when they launched the Paris Agreement, they had this what is it called, $100 billion pledge fund. So they're trying to keep that fund up, and they're trying to see if EU members can contribute. So they are finally stepping up. In 2024 they did, and they came up to like 31 billion euros. And now they're trying to add another 11 billion through private financing to support developing countries and everything. They also it's too much anyway. And they also are going to talk, this is because since the Paris Agreement comes to an end in 2030, they're going to examine how the national determined contribution, that's the goal that countries set for the Paris agreements to achieve by 2030. They're going to look into that, and they're going to see if they wanted to look at review the NDCs and see if countries can step up, because we got 5 more years. And what's going to be the next agreement? Are they going to extend the Paris agreement? I don't know. On November 13th, Environment Minister approved updated NDC, which covers a period of so they are expanding it. So they wanted to go to 2035. So I think they might expand the Paris Agreement till 2035, because nothing has been done. This COP is just like a gala for climate people and people who care about the world. Maybe 10% good thing happens, 90% of them is BS. And I mean, it also depends. Like, if you're a first timer, you can go learn. People come to learn a lot of things, make friends, networking. Nothing really gets done, but personal level, you can gain a lot of things. In global's perspective, 10%, maybe 5 things get done. But personal perspective, you can, if you have, if you're there in COP right now, make sure you meet with a lot of other people, delegates. There's going to be a lot of people coming in. Just meet with them, talk with them. Exchange numbers, exchange ideas. It's a great place to do that. Government wise, I don't know. They just talk, don't do anything. So that's my take on it. So the final topic that I want to talk is that last week, I think Qatar also hosted the Social Sustainability Summit. Okay, so I can't read this. Forget about it. Yeah. So Qatar had the let me read it. Qatar summit. So Qatar had the World Social Development Summit for the second time. The first Social Development Summit happened in Rio in 1992, and the last week was the first time they had the summit. And it was great. Like Qatar always has been a leader, brought in a lot of stuff, brought in a lot of member states. Social development is really important because if you look at raising people out of poverty, look at in America itself, right? A lot of people, poor people, are living in this country. So we need to find a way how you can increase their livelihood. I love capitalism. At the same time, the capitalism needs to find a solution. I really like when Bill Ackman posted saying that the younger generation does not like capitalism. So how are we going to change it or introduce something new that doesn't go to the extreme version as socialism bullshit, or where you can have it as a new way of looking capitalism, a new perspective in lines with the what the younger the next generation wants it. Maybe it's time to do some changes to capitalism and maybe make it more promising, maybe make it more deliverable, so where everyone can live in happiness and people also have their fair share of existence and a fair share of input and fair share of livelihood, because that's the key thing that we all need to understand. Again, as I told you guys, we need to increase the minimum wage. If the cost of living goes up, the minimum wage has to go up, period. You can't, there's no disagreement in it, and it doesn't happen. So I don't know what's going to happen. Anyways, guys, with that, thank you so much to joining us on Every Degree Matters. We talked about the Epstein scandal, the Epstein leaks that's happening, and President Trump is. I wish they release all the files. Just release it all. He's good. Everything will be fine. The moment you guys do this bits and pieces of releasing, it's going to hurt the base, hurt the movement. And 2026 is not far away from, it's almost a year from this week. So might be a blue wave. You don't want a blue wave. Do you want a blue wave with all these things that you have done? And then also we spoke about the government finally opened back again, the longest US history shutdown. It's crazy. This is just this is the first time that 43 days, guys. 43 days, nobody was working. And finally they got back. So happy for everyone. Happy for people. Especially I'm happy for people who are in, people working for essential work, especially the TSA workers, the air traffic controllers, and then the SNAP program people. They all got the money. Amazing. And with that, hope you guys have a nice weekend. And in the US, we are trying to I think the winter is finally here. I heard there is snow on the east coast. On the west coast, it's raining, and it's always been raining, and it's always dry. So with that, take care, and thanks for joining once again on Every Degree Matters. I'm your host, Saffran Minhar. Until then, see you next week.